Willow, the TV show that exemplifies the message that children should be seen and not heard. Seriously, this show is written by a 43-year-old man that comes across as the wet dream of a Zoomer member of the Twitter Trust and Safety Council. The grand total of this guy's credits are that he wrote for Dawson's Creek and Solo: A Star Wars Story. How does someone write Solo and then get given a TV series off the back of it? What do you mean I'll have to ask Bob Chapek? No, you get smart with me, laddie. But they front-load the first 20 minutes with everything repulsive under the sun, so strap in and strap on as we play Spot the Insufferable Bint. And a clue for you. Basically everybody. We start with a flashback to the original Willow in the 80s when entertainment was good, where we had to protect a ginger baby to save the world. She's no longer ginger in this series. Hollywood's bigotry continues. But Willow, played by Warwick, saves her throughout the movie with the help of Mad Mardigan, a lovable rogue that does the right thing, which they can't wait to destroy in this show because, you know, masculinity, what are you gonna do, eh? Now he gets with the sorceress daughter, and boy is she bitter about it.
Mad Mardigan was the man I'd marry, an impossibly conceited thief, liar, and rogue. What can I say? I was young.
And actually had taste. I married a man that risked his life and saved the world. But then again, I'm always settling. Okay, dear. But they defeated the witch.
We thought the war was over.
But soon after the movie ended, they realised they needed a TV series, and so she's coming back and risking the world. Once again, she's after exactly the same person, who for some reason, despite the fact they're supposed to be this witch's downfall, still doesn't know how to defend themselves as an adult. Now, it's not that we couldn't think of any other story, and so we had to make every single character act like a complete moron just to make it fit. Shush! Just turn your brain off, it'll be fine. And so they hid the little ginger away.
Her true identity concealed, even from herself.
And so because she was in danger, they hid the little ginger away and didn't even tell her own identity or train her for the future, despite the fact that she's going to have to go to war with one of the strongest witches of all time. If that sounds like insanity to you, it is. And this is where we start with the new cast of Incorrigible Delinquents, where the main question on my mind is how does someone turn into this without social media? Now we start with two people fighting with masks on. I have a feeling it's to subvert your expectations, but that only works if, you know, you don't understand how human biology works. But no, I'm not bothered. Fantasy series, including Willow, have had this kind of thing going in for decades. But then we get a line, the first line that exemplifies the rest of the show.
I almost had you.
And will again, many times in the future, I'm sure. And she's fighting a princess, just not the princess that matters.
Oh, well, don't beat yourself up about it. There's skill and there's talent, and I just happen to have both.
I'm so glad you told me what your character was up front so I didn't have to think about it. I'm just naturally amazing with swords, and I practice with them. Yeah, that's probably why you're good, because you put in the work. First two lines of the start of the episode, she's amazing, and they're both banging. Get in.
Along with a generous amount of arrogance.
Oh, please, just keep telling me what the character is, because I couldn't have worked that out from her earlier statement itself. Third piece of information, we think our audience are stupid, and so we're going to spoon feed them every piece of information all at the start of the episode.
No, who knows? Maybe in a few years you might actually beat me.
Yeah, because she's good at sword fighting too. It's not like you just saw her have a sword fight or anything. No, you're almost as good as me.
It's not about mastering the moves, Dade. It's about adapting to your terrain.
What does that even mean? Sword fighting isn't about being good with a sword. It's about knowing how to walk. It's like Rings of Power where she said, don't use your arms.
And, I'm just better at that than you are.
I'm better at walking than you are. I'm not sure that's much of a brag, to be honest.
Yeah. Superior in every way, Your Highness.
We're just constantly going to keep telling this character how amazing she is for the first 5 minutes. No, you should have already gathered her talents from the original fight, where we just cut it every second because she has no idea what she's doing.
One day, I'm gonna prove it.
I need to prove myself to the world because the world doesn't trust people like me without dangly bits.
Tell me you don't still think about that. You know, going beyond the barrier, having these wild adventures.
Now I'm just going to explain to you my motivations about everything I'm about to do when I go out on this adventure. I've always wanted to go on adventures. Want to go on an adventure? Yeah, I do. I've always wanted to. Oh, this is the first few lines of the episode. It's like info dump, info dump, info dump.
We've always talked about it.
Then why didn't you just show us them talking about it?
I bring word from the Queen. You need to get dressed for dinner.
I take it my brother's been called home too to scrub behind his ears.
Look, I know you want me to dress like I'm a princess because I'm a princess, but you better have told my brother as well. That's equality.
Yes, Prince, I believe, is hunting in the Western Wood.
You see, nobody complains when the brother goes out and hunts, but when she starts waving a sword, everyone's like, get in a dress. This is what I mean about a Zoomer wet dream. It's every one of their stereotypes condensed into the first 20 minutes.
Hunting? I wonder who's hunting today.
Should we play a game of spot which one's the brother? Even face on, I'm not sure it's that obvious. Oh, please, entertain me more with this shattering of social standards.
You've got a bit of a reputation.
It's just not for being wise, masculine, or sacrificing your own desires for the good of the people you rule.
Things I know aren't true.
Probably are true.
Some of them might be true.
Look, dude, we all know that, but no one expected you to admit it to her.
I'm not that guy.
You are that guy! No, oi, dude, don't hit me.
Eric, I love you.
Calm down, love. It's been about 30 seconds. Should we do something that shows why they're together? No, he's gonna get kidnapped. But a guy somehow finds them in the middle of a field and demands that he returns to the castle.
What do we suppose she means by presentable?
Not covered in dirt and grass.
And the staff.
I'll take the clips back to the stables. You know you're coming tonight, right?
Seems a little bit forward, love. I know you said you were skilled with a sword, but in that instance, you don't actually have one.
No. Yeah, really? Yeah.
You don't have to sound so surprised about it. How selfish do you think she is? Oh, normally you don't even bother.
You know how I feel about gowns and wearing them.
You know how I feel about dressing like a woman. No, not really. She's only been on the screen for 3 minutes. It would actually be more unusual if she was uncomfortable wearing them. In the original series, we had Mad Martigan as like the masculine character. And in this, we've got him. Nice chiffon shirt, mate. For I am the prince, and therefore it is my job to lead an army into battle and defend the realm. Which is obviously why I was trained from birth to look like this. I don't know whether we're the ruler of a medieval empire or about to do a shampoo advert.
You saw nothing.
I saw everything.
That's because of how low his shirt is.
That's that KitchenAid, right? That makes those buttered muffins everybody's always talking about.
Hey,
That's why he's with her, because she butters his muffins.
I happen to be a great admirer for
Yeah.
I can see why.
Just concerned about what she's gonna put in those muffins.
Him, presumably.
You're gonna lose interest and then you're gonna move on to the next. It's like the one way you're totally consistent.
This is where we keep telling the prince about how horrible a person he is. For I am with one person forever because I'm just so amazing, and the prince, well, you know, he's just that typical guy over there who's always cheating around on everybody. He's just completely useless, he really is. Because it's the one male trait he's actually managed to keep hold of for some reason.
Because Dove is...
Wait, did you just say Dove? You don't know her name?
Of course I know her name.
Yeah, it's Dove, like the soap.
Ah, Mother, we got your message.
Why do you look like you've been rolling around in grass?
I have a better question for you. How does he look like he's been rolling around in grass? Please enlighten me, oh wise one. Especially considering he's just clearly been through hair and makeup for half an hour working on his perm. And if anyone's like, well, your hair's nearly the same length, yes, but this is out of laziness, and that's a style. Besides, the likeness to my hair gets way worse later in the episode.
I've had them draw you a berth, and I've laid out a gown for you to wear.
Oh, I can't believe she's trying to make me wear a dress. And remember that for the rest of the episodes, the worst, single, most horrible thing that this princess has ever had to do in her entire life is to dress like a woman. Oh, the horror! Empowerment! I'm sure that's not going to stop her preaching at everyone else, though, obviously.
You're picking out my clothes now. What am I, 6 years old?
Well, I shouldn't have to.
Exactly. If you stopped acting like it, people would stop treating you like it. That's basically what all of these characters are. Oh, I can't believe I'm a 23-year-old getting treated like a 6-year-old, even though that's exactly how I'm acting. Because it really fits into this universe and isn't just a modern-day trope brought on by social media of a load of grown adults acting like children and then wondering why everyone treats them like children. But we can do a comparison. This is what she looks like when she chooses to dress herself. Remember that so you can decide which one you think looks better. Also, she is called Kitt. Like the car, just a lot less useful. But at that point, the queen, who was the daughter of the sorceress in the first movie, is whispers from Willow. It's a warning, they're coming, they're coming. I don't know whether it's a prediction about the evil wizards or just her daughter in the stable hand. Nobody can be sure. Either way, Kitt walks into a room and she's not happy. I can't believe you're having me wear that. So we have the before image and the after image. Oh, the horror. It is bizarre, though, that the prince still has a lower cut top. But we've got her mate who's also fidgeting with the clothes that she's been made to wear.
Kitt and only Kitt do I enjoy this agony.
Only for Kitt will I endure this agony of actually being made to look attractive. Seriously, it's horrific, it really is. I don't know how I'm gonna cope with my life. The entire start of this series is a load of whiny kids moaning about how they can't get exactly what they want and other people try to make them act like adults. And this was written by a 43-year-old man. It's especially bad when she's like, I can't believe I've got to be dolled up in front of the person I like. This is horrible.
You told her, yeah?
I am going to.
This is what you've always wanted. What you've worked for harder than anyone I've ever known.
I'm so glad you told me that, because it's not as if I needed to see it or anything. All your life, you've been working towards. This is your only goal. This is everything you've ever worked for. You're just such a hard worker. You're so amazing.
If she's really a friend, she'll be happy for it.
She's going to feel like I'm abandoning her.
Is that because you are?
Because I am.
And then we get this. Look, it's like, oh, do you still hate your clothes? Because she doesn't. It's probably more dubious that I could cosplay that if I had a few more lattes. So then we have the foreign family with the king and his son. And yes, the son acts exactly how you would expect in a show made for Zoomers. Scared, terrified, and shy. He considered saying boo to a goose once, but then decided against it because he didn't want to be rude. He's the perfect example of what happens if you take a man and then remove their entire personality.
Graydon Haster, the Prince of Galadorn. There were two, but one of them fell out of a tree.
Oh, oh, he fell out of a tree, you know, typical man things. I have sword fighting lessons all the time, but you know, those men.
So I have to marry that one.
Ah, yes, royal wedding's exactly the kind of topic I would expect a 43-year-old man born in California to have any concept or understanding of. Let's see how this plays out.
And have you spoken to him yet? Yes, I curtsied like a real lady.
Oh, that was genuinely nice of you. It's weird then that the show's trying to portray that as if that was a horrible thing for you to do.
And then he sort of grunted and shuffled his feet like a real
Modern man.
winner.
Oh, Disney, you say you want one thing, and then when you finally get it in a show, you're like, actually, nobody likes this, do they? Yes. But the two are going to marry because they have to reunite these two houses. There's been fights with the Bone Reavers in the West, and he thinks, yeah, no, I can handle them, but she thinks, because of her visions, that means there's an evil rising.
Skirmishes in the west, just beyond Barry.
Bone Reaver scum. It's nothing to worry yourself about.
The two families, the two houses must unite so that they can stand together against the future evil, which she knows is coming. That means that the marriage is literally for the fate of the kingdom. This has to be done because otherwise the entire realm will fall. This is bigger than either of those two people, and obviously as royalty, and you would expect them to understand the duty that they have to their people is far bigger than anything they could want individually themselves. But the prince has various different people from around the realm throwing themselves at him. That's obviously because of his just sheer testosterone levels, not because he's a prince. And she is incredibly jealous.
I think that countess is pretty.
It's more a question of how well she butters his muffins,
The one with the lips and the face.
as opposed to all those people that don't have lips and a face. There's that Disney top drawer writing I've come to expect.
Tomorrow, Prince Graydon marries my daughter, Kit. At last,
The future of our people depends on this marriage. Ah, do I have to? Ah. And this guy is basically a wet sponge. There is nothing to him at all. Maybe having a main character that acted like a man was just too much for the party. So they couldn't have him talk about duty or the future of the realm or anything like that, no. Instead, we strictly leave that to the parents and make sure that everybody knows that's the wrong opinion. Self-sacrifice for a greater cause is an abomination, apparently, in this show.
and strengthening us against any threat we might face.
Remember that, this marriage is to strengthen the realm against the future enemies that they know is coming. Generally something you think your leaders would care about. So she looks over at her future husband, who catches her gaze,
And defend
and then immediately looks down in shame of, I can't believe I'm having to do this. I'm having to marry an attractive woman in order to strengthen the realm and save all of these people's lives. It's such a horrible fate. If there's one thing you learn about all of these leaders is they only care about themselves, which is a very different attitude from the current leaders. So they've obviously done a great job in parenting and raising their children.
till that day when the true empress, Elora Danan, returns.
Yeah, there is that small issue that Elora Danan is actually the real princess. And so they're not actually the leaders of the realm, which may explain one of the reasons why she turns into an even more insufferable bint later on. So they all toast. She like grimaces at her fate. And then this stunning example of manlyhood drinks his wine and grimaces because, oh no, not this stuff. I hate this stuff. It's so horrible. Every single thing that can be done to humiliate this man is. And once more, the queen hears whispers about evil coming on the breeze. Sinister. So with that, she goes to the dungeons.
How's the party?
You should see the prince. He's a mouse.
I do think the adults really speak for the audience in this show. It's just unfortunate that their opinions are always portrayed as the wrong ones.
Kit shouldn't
Like, Kit shouldn't have to marry. Yes, she should, because it's good for the realm. You do what you have to in a matter of sacrifice as a leader for your people. What you want doesn't actually come into it. That's the point. That's why you get to live in a castle and they have to go out and work and live in poverty, because you sacrifice in other ways.
But unless it's to bring me a slice of cake, why are you down here?
Unfortunately, the only reason she's down here is to introduce you as a character. We front load everything in the first 20 minutes, so it's just bang, 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 all the way through. Plot point, plot point. Let's just tell everyone about all of the characters so we can get to the next bit.
Or maybe it's because you want me to tell you not to force your daughter into a loveless marriage.
Wow, where's the fun in that? But she says she doesn't have a choice. And he just laughs. He's like, well, you married Mad Mardigan. It's like, yeah, but she loved him and he was an awesome bloke. He literally risked his life to save the entire world from evil and pulled it off. I don't know why we keep talking about him as if he was a horrible guy. He might have been at the start of the movie, but his character arc was becoming a good person. And then in this show, we're just like, oh, he's so awful because he was a man.
I mean, maybe I'm overreacting. It doesn't mean that our life has to change. We can still ride.
You want to marry that guy and still ride? Have you considered telling him about this? I think he'd be a bit more enthusiastic. But when you're happy, there's always someone there to crap on your strawberries. And she says, you know, Valentine, he kind of put in a petition for me to join the Knights.
I've been accepted to train with the Shining Legion, Kit.
Whoops.
But they don't take...
Women is what she's about to say before she gets rudely interrupted. Now, in Willow, the daughter, now queen, was actually a great sword fighter, so we know that that exists in this universe. Just not in this knighthood, though. I mean, they're so stuck in the past.
They've made an exception.
Oh, of course they have. Yeah, they made an exception just for me. This is a centuries-old order of knights, which has passed down their rules through tradition for great reason. And then they just met me, and I was so amazing, they decided to throw it all in the trash.
It's their first ever, actually.
Of course it is. Why would it not be? We have maintained this rule. It is central to our order. What, you? Oh, I can't believe you're that amazing. We're just going to make an exception just for you. You're our first ever, the bestest ever empowerment. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that this means something. This is a big part of the scene. We've just got told she's the bestest ever. People are making an exception for her. Surely that plays into the story at some point. No. She never goes off to join them. We don't talk about this ever again. This entire scene was only there to tell you how amazing she is. She is so amazing that not only did they make an exception for her, but she is the first ever, the only one ever. She is unique in the industry. Disney is so obsessed with going, I'm the first ever blah blah blah, that when they can't do it to advertise their show, they just put it in their show instead because they think it's important or matters for some reason.
I have to go south with King Hester after the wedding.
Why wait till after the wedding? Just do it now. Save us all a lot of time.
My wedding?
Who else's wedding do you think she's talking about? So she gets upset and storms off. Obviously, as the writer intends, I have a huge amount of sympathy for her after finding out she won't be able to cheat on her husband anymore. But you know, nothing is ever quite that easy, is it? As she storms off, her future husband shoulder barges her across the room and doesn't even apologize or say sorry. This is a guy with a testosterone level so low he's actually sapping it from the men around him. The show itself has already called him a mouse, and yet he's willing to just walk across a room and smash into his future wife's shoulder without caring at all. He just randomly chose this moment to be dominant, did he? It's bizarre. So he just continues walking because he doesn't care at all, and she chooses this moment to have it out with him. Like any of this is his fault.
Hey, so we're getting married.
Always nice to state the obvious just in case the audience has forgotten.
That's weird, right?
I'm looking forward to it.
He's completely inoffensive. He just wants to go home and watch his favorite collection of paint dry.
Why? You don't even know me.
I mean, I could tell you, but the camera framing's too high.
I am grateful for the opportunity to serve the realm.
Based. He's willing to sacrifice his happiness as a prince in order to benefit the people that he's supposed to be looking after. You could learn a lesson from him, love.
Sorry, excuse me, just...
Hey, I am getting acquainted with my betrothed here, but you can go wherever you want.
Certainly not marrying her for her personality, is he? But then we get a lovely story from her that's really meant to be an educational teaching moment. And I'm sure once I tell it to you, you will agree that this genuinely happened.
Have you ever heard the story of Taramis?
Taramis with the princess, one of the most gorgeous women that ever lived.
So the king invited all the knights, all of the princes to compete for her hand.
After all the matches of the tournament, everyone had been knocked out and we were left with two people. An obviously arrogant and cocky man, because those are apparently the only ones that exist in this realm, unless you're a mouse. And one other who nobody knew the identity of. I don't know if you can tell where this one's going.
Our mysterious stranger bested the knights and removed his helmet. Can you guess who that was?
You've been paying attention to the message-driven narrative of the show, you certainly can. It was.
Princess Taramis.
Of course it was. Empowerment. She had to go out there and compete against all of those evil men so that she could decide who she could marry, because don't you see, the message of the entire piece is it's all about me and my happiness. It doesn't matter what's best for the realm or my people or the fate of the entire world is completely irrelevant unless I'm happy. Zoomers, everybody. Welcome to the TikTok mentality.
For a chance to choose her own future.
But when you're leading a realm, your future is irrelevant compared to the future of the realm you're supposed to be leading. It means you've now become a part of something greater than yourself, and other people's needs come before your own. I can't imagine why California has absolutely no concept of duty or royalty.
Is this just a quick word, please?
I tried that already. Why don't you make yourself useful?
So then her brother comes up and desperately tries to save her and her own lunacy, and she puts that on his head. Robin Hood, anybody? No, okay. So she says, look, imagine you were having to compete after me, and my first question would be, do you think you're even worth it, love? Do you think you'd even have enough people competing for your hand to have a tournament? Either way, she hands him a knife and says, go on, compete. Knock it off his head. 100% sane, definitely not a red flag.
You want me to...
Are you scared you might blind my pretty twin brother?
Yes.
I'm a little worried about that.
Oh, Oh, congratulations, you're more intelligent than you look. Luckily, the deluded nutcase is actually interrupted by somebody who's sane, and the show definitely wants you to think that she's the one who's hard done by. And I just challenge you to think that when you look at his face. So he walks off, saving her brother's eye. Not that she cares about that, though. Literally goes to throw the knife at her own brother's face and is only saved by someone grabbing her from behind. Put her in the dungeon, anyone? No, just me, is it? Now, if this point I wasn't reviewing it, I already would have turned it off because she's meant to be a hero. She's meant to be one of the main characters of the show. You're meant to root for her. And they've made her entirely insufferable.
You embarrassed the prince.
Embarrassed the prince? She was about to kill her brother. Her entire attitude is that only she matters. Embarrassment really is the least of her issues.
You embarrassed me. I don't care.
I don't think you care about anyone except yourself, love.
You showed everyone in that room exactly what you are. A petulant child who needs to grow up.
Based. It is a problem, though, when it's coming from her mother, where the show's like, I can't believe she's forcing her into a marriage that she doesn't want to be in. And that means that when you have this person tell her that what you're behaving like is a horrible creature, that you shouldn't actually behave that way, and you need to grow up, you brat. Well, you've already put the mother in the position where we know that's not what you agree with, and so I can only assume that you disagree with this message as well. You've spent the entire time trying to tell us that the marriage is wrong in the first place, so when you tell us, look, you should just grow up, do your duty, and do what's best for the realm, you have the only person who's speaking sense in the show being the baddie.
I'm a prisoner.
No, you're a spoiled brat.
Sentenced to a life I didn't even choose.
One you were born into, and you don't get to choose your duty. You do what you have to because there is nobody else that can do it. And if you don't want to, then abdicate and become a common peasant in the street. You want to live a life of luxury but not do any of the duties and requirements that come along with it. How is anyone supposed to like this character?
No one chooses their life, Kit.
Or their mom.
Literally being told the best life lessons. Oh no! Who is this show made for? 8-year-olds?
And if you think I'm tough, you should have met mine.
Yeah. I mean, her mom was the most evil sorceress that was going to destroy the entire world, so she got a little bit of a point. But then the brother comes in, he's like, it's fine, I've smoothed everything over. Spoken to him, he's a good guy, the king's gonna make everything fine. Doesn't matter that you've just publicly embarrassed our entire family in front of the entire realm. I've managed to sort it myself. And then he gets treated like this.
I think you should stick to chasing girls.
He's literally just saved your bacon in front of everybody, but no, we're gonna crap on him. Why? Well, let's face it, it's not as if he's gonna have a spider or anything, is he?
Rather than sticking your nose in matters that you're incapable of understanding and are not your concern.
Because after all, you do just have dangly bits. What do you know? Oh, this show is horrible. Every single message is backwards. All the good messages are given by the villains. And when a guy actually comes in and does something which is beneficial to everybody, he gets smacked down as if, who do you think you are? Stay in your lane.
Go to bed, both of you.
He's done nothing wrong.
In the morning, you will apologize to the king and the prince, and then you will marry him.
Just so we're all aware that that's actually not supposed to be what you take in advance. She just craps on the brother for no reason whatsoever. Make sure you understand that she did give bad advice to everybody, and in fact, the princess is in the right, I think.
What do you think you're doing? I didn't ask for your help.
Doesn't matter what you asked for, he did it because it was the right thing to do for the family. Just once in a modern Disney show, it would be nice to have a princess that actually understood the concepts of royalty.
You're gonna get it anyway because you're my sister.
Everybody loves you because you're so charming and fun.
Have you ever considered being charming yourself, love? Might find you get a little bit further in life.
As long as they don't expect anything from you.
Whereas you just expect everything from everybody. Do nothing for anybody, but I demand everything because I'm a princess.
Because the moment that they do, you'll just leave.
I have a feeling that people leaving you is a very common occurrence. I mean, I would have done it after the first 30 seconds of the show.
Just like Dad did.
Ah, yes. Mad Mardigan, just in case you actually thought that after the first film, he would now be a great person, a great dad, as we'd already seen his arc turn from rogue into person that saved the world. No, he's a deadbeat father again in this, because this is Disney and they hate anything even slightly resembling masculinity. You think we need male role models? No, let's just say the father's trash again.
I'm not him.
Maybe you should be, considering he was a good guy. So she storms into the room and he storms off and stumbles into getting his muffins buttered. Decides that actually, I've been told that I'm going to leave all the time, so I'm going to propose to her in the middle of a corridor. So romantic.
I was so distracted, I burned my muffins.
Anyone who gets that upset about burning muffins is a keeper.
Never burn anything ever.
Now you can understand why he wants to put a ring on it.
And I suddenly realized, how can I expect you to commit to me, Muffin Girl, when you've got countesses and trollops?
I've got to admit, that line came as a surprise, and then I realised this is Disney. Their last show was She-Hulk. They've already conditioned their audience into knowing what to expect of the women in their shows. But after finding out that she doesn't want to burn his muffins, he proposes.
I know it's not the greatest marriage proposal of all time. In fact, it might be the worst. But what if it was better?
I mean, it wouldn't work for most people, but he is a prince, so, you know.
So definitely something that we can discuss.
I have a feeling that Harry and Meghan's wedding proposal just went a little bit differently. I want a ring! So the stable hand is sleeping, and I know she's not a stable hand, but I don't know what she is, and quite frankly, I don't care. Someone sneaks up on her. It was at this moment I realised I could probably cosplay this princess. But she's like, no, we can leave. I know that me leaving will lead to the destruction of the realm, but I just don't care about any of my duties, so I'm off. I'm not going to abdicate, I'm just going to stay a princess and decide to trade off my reputation out in the world.
This isn't about marrying, Graydon.
Nobody believes that.
I mean, it is.
So why did you just lie to her then? This is awful writing.
But I'm looking for something.
We already know that. That was one of the first things you told us at the start of the show. Have you ever considered adventuring?
It's not here.
Now that was savage. Earlier in the show it was all, oh, I love you and you're my everything. And now it's, I'm looking for something. And it's not you. How fast she moves on.
That's out there, beyond the barrier.
You have no idea what's even beyond the barrier. Also, even the subtitles say, it's beyond the barrier, breathing heavily. I can't imagine why she's panting so hard in this moment. No idea at all. Couldn't possibly imagine. And then we do get at least one good line.
You're gonna be a great night.
I bet you say that to all the ladies. But then she leaves and doesn't even find out what she's like at night. You know, it's overall quite disappointing. Especially for her husband. Don't know, it could have just been a great introduction, that's all I'm saying.
But I'll still kick your ass.
She said kick, calm down. So then she leaves by jumping out the window. She's literally a princess in her own castle. I don't know why you're using the windows. It's not as if the guards would stop you moving around. Meanwhile, you've got the other couple because just everyone's going at it at this point, why not? Why is he wearing a dress made out of a pair of curtains? I don't think we'll ever know. But the Queen is the only one alone and having nightmares because of it, seeing the future end of the world. It's Willow calling out to her.
It's begun.
What's begun? And why was there no emotion in that? It's begun. Don't worry. When it comes to Willow, there's a lot of that coming up over the next episode. If you ever wondered what it sounds like for an actor to read every single line exactly the same with exactly the same amount of emotion, welcome to Willow, everybody. But she hears the gales are coming, you know what to do. And I'm assuming this is them. 4 guys, one of which can turn into a bird, and they're all basically a load of evil lunatics. Now, I would question if 4 people can walk into your city and absolutely destroy it, what on earth are you doing with your soldiers? But, you know, that's what we're about to witness. We've now told you about all the characters and front-loaded the fact that they're all incredibly insufferable people that everyone despises. And now we move into the adventure part. Honestly, this episode is like the first 20 minutes of just telling you what everyone is without showing you any of it. And then afterwards, we move on to the actual adventure. So he casts a spell and just makes fog appear everywhere. It looks kind of just like he's burped and it's really cold. But she's sneaking out, and despite the fact that she left by a window, she's now inside and got caught by the stable hand. She's like, I know I can't talk you out of leaving, but there's something else.
I'm just asking you to wait a little bit longer. For what? You wanna come?
Don't you raise those eyebrows at me, young lady. This is the second time you've made that joke, and you're the one who jumped out of a window saying, I know you'd be a great knight. Like, what was your intention? You wanted her to follow you and beg for it?
Kit, you know what I want.
What I really, really want? A zig ah.
I want to serve the Queen.
I have a feeling I want the Queen wasn't exactly the answer she was after. So they kind of argue and whine at each other for a bit before she eventually leaves, and we cut to the wall as the fog has now entirely reached the village. He gets taken out by a bird. And coincidentally, drops at their feet. Now, if you're standing outside and a dead body drops from the sky, you could run, you could arm yourself, but instead, no. We're gonna stand here as a second body gets dropped in front of us as well. They decide not to move and just stand in the vicinity of the dropping corpses with their swords out. At least get under a roof so one can't fall on your face. You have no idea what you're fighting. But instead, the dogs attack. I mean, it's a bit on the nose, but at least you know what's coming. So now she arms herself. The Queen. We've got this guy who's got a thorny cage as a face, comes and attacks. It's never explained who these people are because we were too busy bumping uglies. And then he just starts fighting the royal family who haven't even moved. If at any point you invade a castle and you manage to meet the royal family before their guards, I'd suggest that your defenses need a little bit of work. Seeing the fight outside from his window, the prince, who's not in armor and doesn't have anything, grabs a sword and decides to go fight. Where's the castle guard? Where's the royal guard? Who knows? Let's just let the royal family fight. It's not as if they're important or anything.
Let our love be your strength.
What do you expect him to do, love? Use you as a human shield?
Right. Definitely gonna do that.
Even get him to look into the camera on his way out as if I have no idea what she's on about there, love. Don't worry, that was my reaction when you said it as well. So Kitt and the wannabe knight have engaged Cageface and none of the castle guard want to help. Very occasionally, one single guy will come and attempt to fight him and he just gets battered away into the darkness. Look, they're only a couple of trained soldiers, head to toe in armor. Why would you expect them to be able to compete with a woman in a dress? It's pretty obvious that this would be the end result. I mean, he's a man, he lasted 3 seconds. It's expected. So this guy lifts up the gate by just gesturing at it. Seriously, it's got to be the most poorly defended castle I've ever seen. And in go the dogs. Along with this guy on horseback. 2 women are still fighting Cageface because they can last a lot longer than 3 seconds. Had a lot of practice building up their stamina. But Kitt just randomly falls over on the ground. And no, I mean that literally. Like, he just goes like this and she's on the ground. He never hit her, but just as he's about to crush her, in comes one of the guards, finally, who's also a lord. Seriously, at this point, any unnamed guards are just red shirts. He's the first person to show any sense and realizes, I'm a guard, they're not, why are they out here fighting?
Inside, Your Highness!
Thank you! Let's not have the Queen's Guard, let the princess go out and fight the evil sorcerers. That's what the plebs are for. As he says that, in comes another red shirt, let's see how long he lasts. I think he was on screen for half a second, but in comes some more. I'm sure those red shirts will last a lot longer. Like I just got yeeted into outer space. At this point, maybe it's worth noticing that he seems to have sword-proof skin, so, you know, I'd try something else. But then the knight turns up. Well, this guy has a couple of chain whips. They should be interesting. Random red shirt number 1 comes in. I'm sure he's going to be effective. Well, he lasted a long time. It is stupid when all of them are crap at fighting except the royal family. If they're that good, they should train the soldiers. So he's there and he's just playing Indiana Jones, whipping at everyone with his massive chains. And the Queen's got a plan. I'm going to go down to the dungeon and unleash Mr. Unnamed Man. Really begs the question why you've chained him up if you can just release him and he's not going to be a danger to you anymore.
We're under siege.
Bone Reavers.
Something else. Something worse.
So I decided to release my prisoner from the dungeon. She even just came down on her own to do it. He can't be that dangerous.
Fetch my cleaver.
So Cageface is back fighting again, and this time he can't hit anyone because it's a main character. I'm so amazing, they made an exception for me. See how well she does. He's just kind of swinging around all over the place and just can't hit her at all. At that point, the sorcerer that raised the gate comes in, and he has the incredible weapon of a warm, pointy stick. I'd love to see you explain to the Queen that you lost to a guy with a warm, pointy stick. Although he can teleport, it is a bit of a slight advantage. He just kind of fades away into the fog and then reappears in a different place. They basically just ripped it off the X-Men movie, to be honest. And it does seem to be an incredible power. It's not quite up there with, you know, like being a woman or anything, but it is an incredible power. It makes him really strong. Strong enough that he just starts immediately annihilating people. Although they are just red shirts. Until we get to the captain of the guard.
Would it be too much to ask you not to do anything stupid?
Probably.
But it's like, yeah, you're not in armor, you've just got a sword. Why don't you go and fight the evil sorceress people that are just battering our entire army? I'm sure that'll go well. Who needs a family line? It's not like that needs to be protected.
Stay behind me.
I'm not being funny, but what are you gonna do, mate? On the one hand, he took it by surprise. On the other, the character's got a name, and that means he can do things in this series. For some reason, the princess comes out to fight again, despite the fact that she was told to go inside. Still hasn't put any armor on. Who needs armor when you're fighting a man with chain whips, I suppose? So he starts whipping at her, which obviously she can block with her sword, despite the fact that literally no one else in existence can do that. Even one of the whips, which is meant for her, she dodges and it gets this guy around the face because dangly bits. Suddenly the guy can't hit a single thing. He's literally never missed anyone else, but you know, she's appeared and now I can't, I'm just terrible all of a sudden. She literally just holds her sword up and the guy decides, I'm going to attack her sword rather than her. Her sword is static and above her, leaving her entire side exposed, and he goes, no, I'm gonna go for that piece of metal up there. Look, she's not even moving a sword. It's not a shield. It doesn't block you. He would have to miss you to hit the sword. Plot armor is what we found for the certain characters who you can all guess who they are. In this, it's basically anyone with a name. You didn't even give us a couple of bait characters that you could get rid of in the scene. Come on! What do you mean, come on? You've just run away from him and held your sword in the air. You're not the one who's winning here. But just in case the family line wasn't in enough danger already, with all of them being in a fight, the Queen herself comes to the rescue. The entire city guard is now standing by while the entire family fight wizards. None of them thought they needed magic for this fight or anything. No, we're just going to use metal. Big sticks and metal. I don't know why you've got the hype music. It's not as if she can do anything to him. He seems invincible to swords. Oh, look, we're mother and daughter. We can fight and die together. This'll be exciting. This would carry a lot more weight if anyone on your side had actually damaged people at some point. Maybe you could have come in with an army where you could have killed a couple of people rather than just having 4 invincible people. Because the moment the Queen turns up, he just pisses off. Oh yeah, you two are so scary. What an imposing image. I can understand why you ran from that. I was an elite member of 4 sorcerers which raided this entire city on our own. But that's just too much estrogen. I'm not getting involved in that. Then we get the prince, who somehow has ended up alone. He's decided to use a big chunk of metal against a massive bird. I'm sure this will go well. Oh, don't fancy yours much, mate. Look far better when you put the feathers back on, I gotta be honest. I don't even know what you're supposed to be trying to do there. Fly at him, not, oh, I'm gonna randomly slowly crawl across the ground. Unless you're trying to freak him out, I suppose. So he starts swinging, and obviously he can't hit anything. From the story, he hasn't really fought many people. He's too busy slaying puss. And obviously the alpha Chad here is just staring out of his windows. If you're wondering why he's so low on the screen, it's because nobody wants to see that. So weird bird thing just immediately knocks the prince out in 1 hit because you already know. Literally 1 hit, that's all it took. He was terrible at this, as you'd expect. I'm pretty sure the screen only exists to make the British feel better about their teeth. Although if I were you, love, I wouldn't let someone test out a protractor on my forehead. Turns out the guy was just baiting them, faded back, and then came out with a surprise attack against the royal family, where the guards still aren't here to protect him. We get some mother-daughter fighting because he suddenly started to grab their swords, which is something he never did before there was 2 of them. He's like he's evolved into his stage 2 form now. They've multiplied. Seriously, why did the Power Rangers always wait until the enemy powered up before they did? It didn't really make any sense to me. If that was the more powerful robot, you'd just use it from the start, surely. Anyway. He eventually grabs the Queen because he's fighting at range and they've just got melee weapons. At no point did they try and close the distance to actually do any damage to him. They're just standing at his perfect range for a whip. Supposed to be great at fighting, don't realise that a whip doesn't do anything at close range. So he pulls her away, back to the guy with the warm stick fighting the Queen's guard. Teleports behind him, knocks him to the ground, and ever so gently touches him with the warm end of the pointy stick. Now he's magic, it has an effect, but during this part of the fight, I was thinking this is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care how hot that stick is, at least swing at him a bit. If you're gonna go down, at least try and take him with you. Cavalry Girl is still fighting Cage Face, and the fight hasn't moved on at all. He eventually manages to hit her in the stomach, and decides he's gonna act like Kit on one of their great nights. I mean, I'd say he was really strong, but she's probably only about 4'12". At that point, his arm gets cut off by big massive dungeon guy. It turns out this guy was immune to every single sword attack which has ever hit him, but just had a weakness to that guy's cleaver for some reason, which no one's actually worked out and it's never told about ever again. We don't need stable laws of the universe, just turn your brain off. It'll be fine. Rather than pressing his attack when he's just cut off one of his opponent's arms, he decides to twirl his cleaver under his arm and talk to him for some reason.
I'm sorry, I thought you were totally gonna let go of her.
So glad we can make punchlines in the middle of a fight. So he engages his attack again, and for some reason this time he can't do any damage to the guy. But one of them puts a call out and all of the people decide to retreat at the same time. Not suspicious that they just leave at all. 4 people came in, defeated every single guard in the entire city in 1 punch, and then went to war on the royal family, who for some reason were the only ones who could even fight anything. I can't see any flaws in their strategy at all. That was a perfect military masterpiece right there.
God, somebody help her!
Suddenly, the moment everyone's retreated, there's just guards all over the place with no names. They weren't there before, they weren't fighting anyone, but now they've just come out the woodwork. They're just all over the place, helping all the bodies. They weren't engaging in any of the fighting, though. Why would you expect them to do that? For some reason, Muffin Girl has decided to come out of the bedroom, and I did look up her name, and her name on Google is listed as Dove, which is literally Eric's nickname for it. That's not even her name. The show cares so little about her name that everyone only knows her as the nickname that her lover gave her.
Where are you?
It was just behind me.
It was just behind you at the start of the fight, and he hasn't been behind you since you attacked that dog, so I don't know what you were doing. There was only 4 enemies, and you weren't at any of the fights. What were you doing?
Fighting that witch.
But you weren't fighting the witch, so how did you know he was fighting the witch? And if you were just watching him fight the witch, Why weren't you fighting with him? But that's when Graydon says,
They took him.
and he should know because he was just staring out of a window doing nothing.
I think he's what they came for.
Notice how he's got guards behind him. What were they doing in the fight? Don't worry, sir. We'll guard you as you just stare out of a window for no reason. Oh no, you stole my brother even though I don't care about him because I was going to throw a dagger at his face earlier. No, you don't get to pretend you care about him now, love. But he says I was up in the tower watching them because I'm terrible at everything and can't fight, and I saw them take him. The bird took him in her claws. His father isn't impressed that his soy is an absolute latte. Although he's your son, you raised him. This is essentially your fault. How did you raise him that way, by the way? This guy's kingdom is constantly under attack. He wouldn't have let his son turn out that way. He definitely would have made sure he was a member of the guard, rather than a guy who walks around in a silk bathrobe. At this point, Dove is found peering through the doors, listening to their conversations. That's right, can't let someone steal your toy, boy. But she storms off after getting caught, and they bring in Dungeon Man. Apparently he was on the edge of town trying to steal a horse, so they've got guards on the edge of town. Maybe you want to bring them in closer where you actually get attacked from? I don't know, I'm not here to do your job. You can protect a horse, but you can't protect a royal family. Get your priorities straight, lad.
I was actually checking on the conditions of the stables.
At this point, mate, I'm not even sure why you're bothering to lie.
Concerned for the welfare of the animals.
And that's when I decided to go into Tesco and just pour a load of milk onto the ground.
Is it a crime to care? Huh? To feel? Enough.
But Kit decides no, someone's got to rescue my brother and it's gonna be me.
I'll go.
That she pretends that this is because she cares about her brother, but let's be honest, probably just because she wants to venture out beyond the gate. That's all we've heard about so far, and she's just proven herself to be incredibly selfish at every opportunity.
Yes. Mother, I said I think I should go west.
And the Queen's like, yes, she can't believe it. It's like, look, after everything you've done, after everything you've said, I'm not surprised if she doesn't care if you go after the prince. She's just let you go off and fight 4 sorcerers on your own. It's not as if she can do any worse. So this guy, still holding her shoulder, decides to go with him. But the older guy's like, no, I shall go. You need to stay here and control the guard. Because, you know, the guard did so well in the last fight. Yeah, he's done a great job there.
I've known Eric since the day he was born, and he's as close to a son as I'll ever have, at least that I'm aware of.
Don't worry about that, dude. They definitely let you know. You don't get away without paying child support.
You're just the leader this expedition needs.
Because we all know my daughter's not going to be one.
Where the princess goes, I go.
In that case, so is Graydon.
I think the father realizes what's going on between those two, and he's also sensing an opportunity for his son to man up for once in his life. Seriously, dude.
You let your bride-to-be travel beyond the barrier without
It's
you.
not ideal, but I'd learn to live with it.
I have a feeling you'd put up with a lot without fighting back against it. There is literally no way that this man would raise this son in this environment. It's impossible. He's part of a monarchy. He's going to inherit his position. He would definitely make sure that he wasn't raising a latte. But then he whispers something in his ear, and we don't know what it is, but it's probably, dude, you do realize you've got competition from that one over there. Or he threatened to take away his collection of designer handbags. Either would work, let's be honest. So he goes over to stand next to his future wife and literally gets blocked by the stable hand. And he just turns and walks the other way. Oh, any and every opportunity to put down a man in this show is taken. It's a lot worse than the first 20 minutes, but it's throughout the rest of the episodes as well. They just chill out a bit on it. So it turns out Prison Boy has been beyond the barrier, and that means you'll be useful to our group.
You've been beyond the barrier.
Aye. And it's no place for children.
Neither was fighting 4 sorcerers, but nobody seemed to care about that either, so apparently we're just gonna go with this thing. Full town guard full of trained soldiers in armor that could all ride out tomorrow and go after these people. But no, I'm definitely going to let all of the aristocracy go instead. If that party gets wiped out, there's no more royal bloodline. Like, forever. I know this is written by a Californian man, and so he probably doesn't know the first thing about monarchy, but that's bad.
Be their guide, and I'll pardon all your crimes.
I have a feeling that's quite a long list. But she's like, don't worry, he'll get it done. Not for a pardon, not for me, but to square a debt with an old friend. To which he seems to agree. But they don't know where he's gone, so she sends them to the only person who might know. A sorcerer beyond the gate. Willow.
And I have a feeling he's expecting you.
Spoiler. He's not. We find that out in episode 2. I'm not even sure why she says it. It doesn't actually make any sense and it's never mentioned again. They just tell us something, which is wrong for no reason whatsoever. But then we find out her master plan through all these years and it's stupid.
I believed if Alora Denon disappeared and we forbade magic, perhaps we could keep evil out.
Do you understand how stupid that plan is? Because however stupid you think it is, it's worse. We've got a premonition that an evil sorceress is going to come back and there's one person who can do magic that can stop her. So I'm going to hide her her away, not teach her magic, not prepare, and somehow that will defeat the evil sorceress when she comes back and attacks us all. Well, I think we found out just how stupid that plan is when all of your guards with metal swords couldn't do anything against sorcerers. She had an evil sorceress mother. She should have realized what metal does against wizards.
Willow disagreed.
That's because you're an idiot and Willow is just slightly less of one. I have a feeling that every single person in the entire universe would disagree with your plan of, let's just do nothing and hope that the evil premonition doesn't come true.
He believed that eventually evil would find its way in. And when it did, magic would be the only thing that could save us.
Because that's common sense. Everybody believed that.
The last thing that Eric said to me was that he would never leave me. And when he said it, I didn't care.
That's because you're a selfish, inconsiderate little bitch.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
You shouldn't apologize to your mum, you should be apologizing to him.
I don't apologize to people with dangly bits. I was gonna throw a dagger in his face, I didn't care.
Just because he was stupid enough to stand there doesn't make it any better.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry too.
Sorry you were born. So with that, they start to arm up. Stable Hand gets a special sword off the captain of the guard.
A knight is defined not by skill in battle, but by the oaths they keep.
That sounds like a lot of nonsense to me. They literally had knight jousting tournaments that were purely about battle. No one was like, oh, I've thrown an oath. All knights had to make oaths to the people above them in the pyramid. That's how people raised armies of knights. I think you'll find skill in battle was pretty important in an army.
I hope that when we're next to me, you feel like I've earned this beautiful gift.
Wow, you delivered that like a block of wood.
When we're next to me, you feel like I've earned this beautiful gift.
Just full of emotion and passion. I can feel it radiating off the screen.
The fate of Tyrosley will rest on whether you succeed or fail.
Why are you saying that to her specifically? Say that to your daughter. Say that to the guy in charge. Say that to the group. But why are you singling her out?
It's gonna be harder for you because of your big curly hair. Everyone will see you coming from a mile off. Just remember, all your south rolls have a -3.
I won't fail.
You can't promise that. That's stupid.
Kit's like her father. She'll never stop looking for Eric.
I mean, you spent the first half of the show crapping on Mad Mardigan, saying how he was a useless father that left everyone.
And now he's like, no, he'd never leave his family.
Make your mind up.
I'm counting on you as I would any knight.
We've seen literally nothing that she's even a knight. We haven't even seen her ride a horse yet. Doesn't even wear any armor. Still think Stable Hand's more fitting. Now, I think we can all agree that if we're going on an extended campaign to an unknown place, but a definite stronghold of enemy military forces, you only need 4 arrows. 4 enemy sorcerers, 4 arrows. The maths adds up perfectly. You won't need any more. I've just decided for the rest of the series, I'm going to count those arrows and see what happens to them. The 4 golden arrows. Let's see how they go. Of course, this guy's wound is still going, even though he was burnt. So I'm not really sure what's fading through his armor. That black goo in his hand probably isn't a good sign either. But we leave and you get to see the size of the city. You'd think it'd have quite a few guards in it, wouldn't you? Guards who would have come running to save their royal family.
Oh, let it go. That was a previous scene.
Still pisses me off, I gotta be honest. We're riding off into the distance. Still riding. We're riding really far. That's why there's all the different scenery. We're just riding all over the place.
How much further to the barrier?
Another day, maybe less. We can resupply before we head beyond the realm.
Resupply? You've been riding through safe territory. How many supplies do you need? Although I admit you probably need some arrows. But at this point, Stable Hand, Jade, I didn't know her name before it was just literally written on the screen, says there's somebody following us.
You know, that's what I thought. And I realized you have to be pretty daft to follow us, considering we're all gonna die.
That's what I love about him, his incredible confidence.
Hey, you think we're gonna die? Wish someone told me. I'm really scared of dying.
I think that was meant to be funny. Maybe it was because it was delivered by the guy who has no personality and doesn't even seem like a real person.
That and communal bathing.
Definitely a joke then. Still no personality. It's almost like you can't strip the man out of a man and then just assume you have a character at the end of it. Either way, they all hide in trees to see who's following them. Bearing in mind, they don't have a scout riding back and forth or anything. So to know someone's following them, they must have literally been in visual distance. And so that person would have seen them go in the trees. Don't think about it. Just turn your brain off. It'll be fine. She's still only got 4 arrows. So he walks down a small hill and pulls someone off their horse. Turns out to be Dove. She's also after her, fancy man. She's like, I'm in love, I want to save him. No, you can't come with us. Well, I can cook. Okay, you can go back in the morning.
Have you ever been in a fight?
You mean like verbally?
I mean like defending yourself against someone who wants to hurt you.
No. Have you?
She's acting like that's a no. She even looks amazed as, oh, I can't even believe I asked that. She gets looked out by the Stable Hand as if, oh, she really got you there, and you haven't either. About 3 minutes ago, she was in a fight with Cage Man, who was literally trying to kill her. Then she went out and fought someone who had, like, whip chain things that were trying to kill her. And she's forgotten about it. Yes, dear. The answer is yes, I have. It happened last night. when I was trying to defend your brother from getting taken away. For some reason, though, in this scene, we've all had short-term memory loss and think that she's never been in a fight to defend herself.
Someone who wants to hurt you.
No. Have you?
See, it's like it's a got you. Have you? He's like, oh, she's got you there. Oh, she's got you there. Oh, no, she's got me there. What is this scene?
Horses, and somebody's got to cook, right?
It was this scene where she kind of grew on me, where she's like, look, you kind of need everything. Someone's got to make the food. I'm like, actually, yeah, that'd come in actually really handy. I see you've played your ace right there.
Are you any good?
I'm phenomenal.
Marry me. Now we can understand why the prince wanted his muffins buttered. So she cooks food, but she starts mouthing off at the other guy. You don't know how dangerous this is. They're not just going to give him back. We're going to have to kill people. Yeah, tell him how dangerous it is, fella.
Tell him.
Well, you're also naive. It's adorable.
Not the answer she was expecting, but this is a guy who's being pitched as the bad guy, so any of the advice he gives them is kind of coming from an unreliable source, which is a problem because he gives a lot of good advice. It's like the mother. She's pitching all the good ideas like duty and doing things which are good for you even if you don't want to do them, and then she's like, oh, I can't believe I'm making him do this, it's so horrible, which throws all of her advice out the window as if it's bad advice. No, they were the right things to say.
What? You've never known pain, fear, hunger?
I mean, he's not wrong. Coddled little entitled brat.
When we get out there, it's not going to matter who your parents are or what you think you deserve.
Then this is where I get torn on the series, because up until this point, everything has been pushing in one direction. It's all about them, what they need, and their right. And then you get this one guy who's just telling them like it is. Is the show sending them on an arc? Or is it just a character saying it, but the show's actually going, but you should probably ignore him, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Because the world is bigger than you can possibly imagine. It doesn't give a damn about any of you.
But he eats some possum stew.
Wow.
And it turns out she's the most talented member of the party. But we see the barrier in the background, and it turns out it's just a huge force field which was set up to protect Elora from the evil sorceress. We went to all that effort to erect a force field and didn't think that Elora should be able to defend herself with her own magic. No, not the smartest person who made this plan, is it? But they talk about how no one knows where Elora is, and she's like, well, my father knows. He snuck her out of the castle one day and went to live with her somewhere in a far-off place.
I think he snuck out of the castle one night and took her somewhere far away where nobody would find her and then stayed with her.
And that's why he's not with me, because he's protecting her.
Is that what you really think or what you want to believe?
Why would I want to believe that he chose her instead of us?
Maybe because, sometimes it's just easier to hate them.
That makes literally no sense. If your father took away the most important person in the entire realm to a far-off place that nobody knew about and lived with them and stayed with them to protect them from the forces of evil so that she could save the world, why would you hate him for that? Oh, my father saved the world. I can't stand it. Damn you, world. Damn you. No, you see, it's about duty and him sacrificing his own desires and his family in order to save the world. That's a great man, not somebody you should hate because, oh, but I wanted something different. And it's comments like that why I think the show doesn't realize that he gave good advice earlier, because that's a stupid thing to say. Oh, it's so cute. They've got their hands almost touching. Aw. Gotta be honest, first time I watched the show, I pissed myself laughing at that. Then I realised her husband is probably about 2 foot that way, and it got even worse.
The kitchen maid?
She's gone.
That's right, Dove snuck off in the early morning because for some reason she thinks she can get through the barrier on her own. No, it doesn't make any sense. She could have just stayed around in the morning and gone with them. What are they gonna do? Send you back? You can just follow them again. It makes no sense for you to go ahead when you don't know where you're going. But the guy's like, no, she won't have gone off ahead of us because she doesn't know where she's going. And so unless she's found the gate, which would be an incredible stroke of luck, then she'll never get across the massive gorge, because no one can get across the massive gorge. That'd be stupid storytelling. Oh, look, there she is. There's a way across the massive gorge. You literally had a character go, this can never happen, she can't do it. Cut to a scene of her doing it. Why? So she just starts walking across the tree branch, which coincidentally just happened to fall the exact distance it needed to get stuck in a ravine. They take the easier route through the gate. Now, the gate turns out to just be a gap in the force field. This force field is meant to keep out the forces of darkness, and everyone's talking about there's no way through that force field. Evil could never get through the force field unless we just deliberately left a massive hole for people to walk through the force field whenever they want to. Why would you make a force field to save the most important person in the universe and then leave a hole in the protection? So they go across the bridge, and you find out on the other side people are supposed to be guarding it. Notice there's no massive fortification here, there's no walls. There's a few arrow slits that you can see in the side. Basically, it looks entirely undefensible. There's not even a gate stopping people crossing. It's just a very, very minor couple of buildings on each side of the only weakness in your impenetrable shield. I mean, look at the fortifications. That's not keeping anybody out. At least build a fence.
They'd never abandon their post.
Yeah, but what if they were killed because they had no fortifications to defend themselves from even a small army of people? Also, you know that 4 evil sorcerers came into your city and defeated all of your soldiers. I think they could probably get through a tiny outpost with barely any people in it.
Look at this.
But she finds a load of writing on the wall, and of course he can read demon language for some reason. And as he starts reading it out, something talking about the Eternal One, earthquakes start happening. Now, if I started reading an evil demonic language and earthquakes started to go off, I'd stop reading it, because it's like you're casting some kind of spell. Doesn't stop him, he just carries on, and more earthquakes happen.
Of worlds.
Of course, she's crossing a tree at this point, and there's earthquake going on, so it's not great for her.
The harbinger of the worm will come.
Maybe at this point she just shot up. But she's like holding on because she doesn't want to fall off despite the fact that the tree's about to fall. Then eventually realizes that if she just runs to solid ground, she'll be fine. So charges. The tree falls. Now you're just having a laugh. I would have accepted that she could run to the other end, but I do not believe that she's got the upper body strength to do this. No way could she pull up her own body weight. I do not believe it. Look at her arms. The only thing she lifts is muffins. You're standing on a box, love, and we all know it. But then she walks up to the barrier, the impenetrable barrier, which has a butterfly sitting on it for some reason, I don't know. And she goes to touch it. She literally has no idea what the barrier will do, which is designed to keep out evil. So, you know, could electrocute or anything, but she's like, no, I'm just going to touch that thing, see what happens to me. Luckily for her, the magic just kind of folds around her. And so she makes a hole and walks through. Perfectly normal for an impenetrable barrier, I think we'll all agree. Luckily, it seals behind her and she hasn't just made a massive hole in the most important defense of her entire city. Because that would have been bad and she didn't even consider that one. But off she goes, just wandering into the random darkness on her own with no idea where she's going. I literally have no idea what her plan is at this point. But the group are walking away on their horses. They just happen to find her in the middle of an open field, walking along, randomly. What a coincidence. It's a good job they found her, because otherwise she was just going to die with no plan whatsoever. I don't know what she thought she was doing.
You're not the boss of me, princess. Not out here.
I like her. I think we should keep her.
I'm with him. She's like one of the few characters of the entire show which isn't entirely insufferable. And she cooks.
Nobody asked you, Borman.
Shut up, Borman.
Why are you having a go at Borman? He supported you, you lunatic.
You don't have time for your bickering. If you're not vigilant at each moment, I swear you will not survive.
Bet no one saw that coming. And this is her expression just after he gets attacked. It really doesn't seem like she cares, does it? Oh, well, at least the dangly bits have gone. Because it turns out he's got shot with a bolt, which means whoever shot him is in visual range. For some reason, no one's seen them yet. No one saw or heard the horses that were near enough to shoot you with a crossbow bolt. No? Just turn your brain off, it'll be fine. So it turns out the bone wraiths are here, and they yeet it. They pick her off on the back of the horse and ride as fast as possible. Now, some would say the princess has picked her up in order to save her life. I think she's put her on the back of the horse as a human shield. It's crossbow bolts. She's going to block at least 1. 2 if she's eaten enough muffins. So there's a little bit of a horse chase. They're firing bows, and obviously all of them miss. At some points, the cast literally just dodge back as an arrow gets fired, and they shoot each other. The bone eaters shoot each other. Don't fire at people when there's your friend on the other side of them. This is basic stuff, people. A couple of them get taken out with throwing stars. They're incredibly effective considering they're throwing stars. But then one of the bone eaters catch up with Dungeon Guy and say, Borman, you're supposed to be dead.
You're supposed to be dead!
Well, that's not me, mate. I think you're thinking of someone else.
You see what I mean about he's probably not meant to be the one giving good advice when he was literally one of the bone eaters which go around killing people outside, which is a running theme of the show. Everyone that gives good advice and doesn't just pander to their self-entitled little narcissism, all of them are pitched by the show as bad people. So yes, they're giving the good advice, but you're supposed to think it isn't. You're supposed to think they're the ones in the wrong. But then he gets really scared because it turns out there's a cliff. Quite a big cliff. So he starts shouting Sugala, and then they hear it, and they start shouting Sugala as well, and he just rides off the mountain. So they shout it, and then they all ride off the mountain as well. Of course, the bone eaters don't follow him because their horses are more intelligent. It turns out horses are cleverer than people. That's why you used to have pike lines, and the horses wouldn't charge the pikes. but people would. No, horses are too smart. It's like, why on earth am I charging that pointy thing? That's stupid. Luckily, though, it turns out the water's deep enough and all the horses and everyone just swim to a nearby shore. Why the bone eaters don't just follow them to this shore, I don't know. Unless that's the mountain, supposedly in the distance, in which case they've swum a long way. But they're all like, that's incredible. What does Sungara mean? How did you get them to just ride off a mountain? No horse is supposed to be stupid enough to do that.
I've never seen horses do that. What do you call them?
It's an ancient Angorian word. It means stop.
Ah, I know that's a punchline and it's supposed to be funny, but now we just get back to the question of, oh, okay. So why did the horses ride off the mountain then? You kind of ruined a great explanation for a terrible punchline. That was my reaction when he ruined the plot. Either way, she decides maybe I should make up with my future husband.
I wanted to say, I'm sorry about the way I behaved.
Do you even know why? Do you even know what you did? Apart from wanting to make him throw a dagger at your brother's face. I'm not sure you should be apologizing to him for that and not your brother.
I was very childish.
Yeah, children are always renowned for making each other throw daggers at people's faces. Happens all the time in playgrounds. Oh, don't worry, dear. It's normally 7. They grow out of it. Then they start throwing axes.
No, it's okay.
It's not okay. There is no reasonable excuse for wanting to just throw a dagger at somebody's face randomly.
I can understand not wanting to marry someone that you barely know.
Dude, the amount of people that wouldn't want to marry me is astronomical. There's not enough daggers in the world for all of them to throw one, but, you know, they still shouldn't be doing it. They still shouldn't be throwing daggers at each other. It's not Squid Game.
I wasn't happy about it either.
Yeah, but you didn't try to assassinate your family, you lunatic.
I mean, you're very...
Very what, dude? Because at the moment, I'm thinking I should have auditioned for the part.
I just think you should be in love with someone before you commit to spending the rest of your life with them, right?
Yeah, but what if you're a royal? What if you need to blend 2 houses in an alliance in order to save the world? And why did none of the parents instill in you a sense of duty? Or even a modicum of care about the realm you're supposed to be inheriting?
What about our responsibility to unite the realm?
Yes, and protect it from evil as a combined force.
One day you and I are gonna be in charge.
I have a feeling not for very long. The realm may need a Laura to fight off a wizard, but to get you 2 out of power, you're gonna need a Guy Fawkes.
When that day comes, we don't have to do things the way our parents did.
Maybe you should. Maybe your parents did things for a certain reason. Maybe the reason why monarchs for literally thousands of years did this is for a reason. Maybe you and your little 20-year-old body can't possibly comprehend the reason why people have done things for thousands of years. And maybe you're just not more intelligent than literally every single person that's ever lived before you. But no, you're a Zoomer. I'm sure you know better than literally everyone else throughout all of history. Obviously. Let me just bow down to your personalityless big brain. I mean, whenever I want advice on how we should set up things for the future, especially when it comes to something as important as how we should control an entire realm, I always go for the person who's just started shaving. It's just their vast amount of worldly experience and knowledge that I'm going for. So they go to what they call a village, but really just looks like a collection of twigs, and they meet a very, very small person. She says we're looking for Willow.
Congratulations, you found him.
I mean, that may have worked if there hadn't just been a movie called Willow, where we know who the actor is. I mean, just the look of stunned amazement on her face means she's probably seen the movie.
You're Willow?
Yep, that's me. Willow.
I mean, to be fair, he's a better actor.
But I'm out of the sorcery business now. I've retired. So, jog on.
Do you see the problem there? Does that really sound like language you'd use in a fantasy kingdom? Local slang? Yeah, I can see it in Rings of Power Season 2, actually. Arender just goes, jog on! That's a phrase I've never used. I don't know why he's using it. That's why it feels so out of place. It's not from this world. It doesn't fit. Like the actors. These aren't people which are raised in this world. They're not acting as if they've been raised among royalty. These aren't people that would be bred, educated, and trained to lead a kingdom. These are all people that have been picked up out of California and just set in here. These are Californian people. Californian personalities. The show feels so weird because all of these people are out of place in this universe. Because their personalities are from ours. Just like his language. But she says, my mother is queen and we defeated an evil sorceress and now we need Willow to come and save them again.
It's okay. She is who she claims to be.
How do you know?
I read her mind.
Welcome to Warwick Davis. Now, I rewatched the original movie, so it's fresh in my mind for this review, and I can't actually remember him being that bad an actor. It certainly wasn't enough to pull me out of the movie if he was. That's not true in this, though. In this, every single line will be delivered exactly the same.
Kidding. Had you though, didn't I? Your brother's alive, a prisoner of the withered crone, who dwells in immemorial city that lies beyond the shattered sea.
Your brother's alive.
He's been taken by a wizard. He lies over the water, through the streets of Mordor. If we go across the sea, we could save him in boats. Going to be very dangerous, and I'm sure you're all very scared. I'm very scared, as you can tell by the tone of my voice. That's literally him acting for the entire time.
Sorry, did you say beyond the Shattered Sea? Okay.
So he sees beyond the Shattered Sea and he's like, I'm off. I've been beyond the gate, but I'm not going beyond the Shattered Sea. No one's been beyond the Shattered Sea. They don't even draw maps of it.
That's where all the maps end.
That's where we must go. Beyond the edge of our world, into the unknown. It's the only way to...
Yeah, he delivered that with a lot of oomph. But at that time, he sees Dove. And you find out the reason why nobody knew what her name was is because it wasn't even her name, so why did we bother giving it to her in the first place? But he decides to inappropriately touch her arm, whisper a bit, and reveal the sign. Turns out she's been Allura all along. And I'm sure you're as amazed as I was, and by that I mean every single person could see that coming from the very start of the show. This is the big reveal of episode 1, and I think literally everybody saw it. Remember though, the baby from the first series was Ginger. And she's not Ginger. Hollywood hates them and you can't have two in a party. Come on, people. They'd be like, look, it's too expensive to keep burning their clothes every time they wear it if there's two of them. I seriously don't know what Hollywood have against gingers, but they despise them. But they're all amazed that she's Allura.
I'm not. I'm nobody.
Last blood of Chimeria, future Empress, High Priestess, Temprum Sorceress of the 9 Realms, and the world's last best hope against the evil coming to destroy us all.
I mean, he tried. He really tried. You are Allura Dunham, the best last hope that we have against evil.
I swear he wasn't like this in the original movie.
What?
And I have to say, what was that? Like I say, I watched the movie just before this. I kind of expected something similar. Instead, what I got was this. This entire thing does not fit. The characters do not fit in their roles. Yes, at first, in the first 18 minutes, everything is hit really hard. Everything is pushed up front. It doesn't go away, but it kind of calms down. Once we've set up all the characters so that we know the men are all horrible and disgusting and evil and crap at everything and all the women are amazing, not as bad after the first 20 minutes. But you still end up with a show where the people are insufferable. They've taken Mad Mardigan, who went through an entire arc to be a good person from a lovable rogue, and turned him into a deadbeat dad that left his family alone for no reason whatsoever. And these characters don't fit in this world because they're basically Zoomer Californians who just all think that everything is about them. So much about them, in fact, that one of them went questing with 4 arrows in her quiver. And what we got was a predictable, horrible Californian mess. This doesn't feel like fantasy. This doesn't feel like Willow. It does feel like it's a Zoomer Californian wet dream. And there was a way they could fix it. They could have explained their attitudes. They've got a big, impenetrable shield around them. They've never been subjected to danger in their entire lives. They don't know anything about fighting. They've grown soft and lazy as the centuries have marched onwards. That's not what we've got. We've still got the parents who are good people. Except in this, they're kind of pitched as boomers that don't have any idea what they're talking about. And so all the good advice that the wiser adults are actually giving them is kind of pitched as if it's wrong. No, we need to go forth and change things. When we're leaders, we'll do things way better than them because we're going to ignore their advice, despite the fact that the advice they're being given is the correct one. And that's why, despite the fact that all the main characters act like self-entitled little brats and do get given a counter-narrative, I don't think this is an arc they're going to go on. I don't think they're going to change and improve and learn as time goes on. I think they're just going to be proven correct. Because like I said, this is a Californian wet dream. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.